Hey, you there! The man in the janitor's uniform at the back. Come up here, now. Harper Weston's voice rang through the Ryman auditorium like a cold blade slicing the air. 500 guests turned their heads in unison. On the live stream, 2 million people were staring straight into this moment. Cole Brennan, 32 years old, stood frozen. His hands were trembling, and the thing that made him look most out of place at that moment was the pair of yellow rubber gloves still on his hands. He had finished wiping down the stage exactly 10 minutes earlier. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't think that—" "Don't make excuses." Harper cut him off before he could finish the sentence. She strode forward, grabbed Cole by the shoulder, and dragged him straight into the center of the stage lights, as if pulling an object onto a table for display. "Let everyone see," she said, her voice sweet to the point of being fake. "Whether you can actually sing, or whether you're just taking up space here." Then Harper turned to the band and snapped her fingers sharply, the way one would issue an order to a waiter. "Play Higher Ground for him." She curled her lips into a smirk. "An impossibly high note, the same note that once earned me $2 million. And just as the band was about to come in, Harper leaned in close to Cole. She switched off her own microphone, but Cole's mic was still live. Her voice dropped to a whisper that the entire auditorium and all 2 million viewers heard perfectly clearly. "Fail quietly, kid." The air froze. The entire hall held its breath, as if waiting for something to shatter. Cole stood there, under lights blazing like fire, with hundreds of eyes in front of him and a world behind him passing judgment through a screen. But what he did next wouldn't just prove Harper Weston wrong. It could also bring down everything she had built on lies. If you enjoy Turn the Tables stories like this, remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss the videos we release every week, because what comes next is where things truly begin to get frightening. And the question is, why was Harper so determined to drag a janitor onto the stage to humiliate him in front of millions? What was she afraid of? Enough to do that. But to understand why this moment matters so much, we need to rewind time to 4 hours earlier. Cole Brennan was not always a man who cleaned floors. 5 years earlier, he had been one of the most promising contestants on Voice of Tomorrow, the hit talent competition on which Harper Weston herself sat as a judge. Cole possessed a rare high tenor voice, with a vocal range spanning from C3 to C6. But what caught the professionals' attention was not just the height of his range, but his ability to transition between registers, shifting from chest voice to head voice as smoothly as flowing water, so seamlessly that listeners could not detect the exact moment his voice changed. Everyone believed Cole would go far. Some even called him the ace card of that season. On the night of the finale, when everything seemed within reach, Cole's phone vibrated backstage. On the other end of the line was the hospital. His wife, Grace, was in the emergency room. Acute pneumonia. Critical condition. Cole stood frozen. In front of him were the lights, the millions of viewers, the opportunity he had chased his entire life. Behind him was the woman he loved. He did not hesitate. He did not ask for permission. He did not explain. Cole left the show that very night and ran straight to the hospital. The public turned on him almost instantly. Irresponsible. Unprofessional. Throwing away the opportunity of a lifetime. Then Harper Weston appeared on television and coldly delivered a single sentence that shut every door completely. Anyone who doesn't respect an opportunity doesn't deserve a dream. 3 days later, Grace passed away. Their daughter, Lily, was born prematurely at 32 weeks, weighing only 1.5 kilograms, carrying a hole in her heart. Cole was blacklisted from the entertainment industry. No record label would sign him. No stage would invite him to sing. For the next 5 years, Cole survived as a janitor. Now he and Lily live in East Nashville, in an old 2-bedroom apartment, where the heating system works in only one room. Cole works 2 shifts a day. In the morning, he cleans the Ryman Auditorium. At night, he washes dishes at a restaurant on Broadway. Each night, he sleeps less than 4 hours. Lily needs heart surgery. $85,000. Insurance covers only 40%. Cole needs $45,000 within 2 weeks. He does not allow himself to think about the words, "What if not?" But there is one thing Cole never gave up. He still sings. Every night, he sings Lily to sleep. "You Are My Sunshine," Grace's favorite song. Cole always sings very softly, very carefully, as if singing just a little louder would cause the memories of Grace to crash down and crush him. Lily often whispers to her father, "Daddy's voice makes my heart feel better." The nurses in the ICU have noticed it too. Lily's heart rate becomes noticeably more stable whenever she hears Cole sing. No one can explain why, but Cole knows. It is not technique, not pitch, and not a miracle. It is love. And it is the only thing he still has left to give his daughter. Harper Weston hosted a gala called Voices for Hope at the Ryman Auditorium. The publicly announced purpose sounded noble: raising funds for Vanderbilt Children's Hospital and its congenital heart treatment program. Ironically, that was the very condition Lily, Cole's daughter, was suffering from. That night, Cole was on the evening shift, cleaning the backstage area. He knew very well that the money raised tonight could save his daughter's life. 500 tickets, $500 per ticket. Ticket sales alone totaled $250,000. Harper stepped onto the stage, the spotlight shining directly on her. She smiled confidently and declared to the audience, "Tonight, I will sing Higher Ground." The final note, C6, has never been reached by any singer other than me. That is why I stand here. And that is also why I am able to help these children. The audience erupted in applause. From the upper balcony, Cole quietly looked down at the giant screen displaying images of children with heart disease. Among them was Lily. He had signed the consent forms allowing the hospital to use his daughter's image. The rehearsal began. Cole was cleaning the glass when Harper walked in to warm up her voice. The band played the opening chords of Higher Ground. Harper's voice rang out powerfully in the lower sections, solid, controlled, exactly what one would expect from a star. But when the song reached the bridge, where the melody climbs to E5, then A5, heading straight toward C6, Cole felt that something was wrong. Harper's neck tightened. Her shoulders lifted slightly, betraying the strain. When she tried to reach C6, her voice cracked at a sharp 5, nearly a tone and a half below the target. Harper cleared her throat softly, trying to cover it up. "My throat is too dry." Then she turned to the sound technician and ordered in a lowered voice, "Turn up the backing track. Louder. I need support." The technician adjusted the settings. Harper sang it again. This time, the high note rang out perfectly. Too perfect. Cole stood frozen. His ears had been trained through years of studying music. He could distinguish between a live voice and a recorded one. He heard the faint metallic sheen of digital sound. He heard how the note sat on top of the harmony, rather than blending into it. That C6 did not come from Harper Weston. It came from the speakers. Cole remembered 5 years earlier. He remembered what Harper had once said on television. "Anyone who doesn't respect an opportunity doesn't deserve a dream." She had destroyed his career by labeling him unprofessional, while she herself was cheating. Cole returned to the janitor's room. He asked himself, who would believe a cleaning man standing up against a singer who had sold 4 million albums? Then he thought of Lily. The little girl was watching the live stream from the hospital, believing that Harper Weston was a good person, believing that this gala truly helped children like her. Cole opened his phone and searched for information about Harper's previous galas. A small article, published last year, almost unnoticed. Only 15% of funds from Voices for Hope reach the hospital. The remaining 85% is listed as administrative expenses. 15%. Out of $250,000, only about $37,000 reached the children. Where did the rest go? Harper's management company, production costs, marketing for her personal brand. Cole felt something ignite in his chest. Not anger, but resolve. A 32-year-old man who had lost his wife, who was raising a heart-sick child alone, standing in a cold janitor's room, and deciding, enough. The gala began at 7 o'clock in the evening. 500 people filled the auditorium. 2 million were watching online. Cole finished his shift, put away his tools, and prepared to leave. But as he reached the wings, he suddenly stopped. On stage, Harper Weston appeared in a shimmering sequined gown, the lights making her look like a flawless icon. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harper said with emotion, "tonight is not just about music. It is about hope, about giving these children a chance to fight." The audience burst into applause. The cameras quickly swept to the large screen behind the stage, images of children with heart disease appearing one after another. Among them was Lily. Harper continued, her voice softening. "Every ticket, every donated dollar, will go directly to help these little hearts." Cole stared at his daughter's face on the screen, and in that moment, he knew. He could not let Harper continue lying for even one more second. Harper sang the first 3 songs. Her voice was good, well-trained, polished, precise, professional, but nothing special. Then Harper introduced the next song, smiling confidently. "Higher Ground. This song is proof that when you believe in yourself, you can reach unimaginable heights." The band came in. Harper began to sing. Just as Cole had heard during rehearsal, when the song moved toward its climax, toward the C6 note, the sound rang out. Perfect, clean, flawless. But it was not a human voice. It was sound coming from the speakers. Digitized. Artificial. Cole stepped out of the shadows of the wings. No plan, no script, just a man who had been silent for 5 years. And a courageous decision. Harper saw him. Her eyes narrowed slightly. She recognized him immediately. The former contestant, the man who had abandoned the show 5 years earlier. A cold smile slowly spread across Harper's lips. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "we have a special guest." The lights snapped around. 500 heads turned. The camera zoomed in. Cole stood there, in a janitor's uniform, yellow rubber gloves still on his hands, a cleaning cloth draped over his shoulder. "Cole Brennan," Harper introduced. "Some of you may remember him from Voice of Tomorrow 5 years ago. A true talent, a true potential." She paused, deliberately letting the word potential hang in the air. Until he walked away. Right before the finale. No explanation, no apology. He simply disappeared. The audience began to murmur. "My wife was dying," Cole said, his voice loud enough for people near the stage to hear. Harper did not hear, or pretended not to hear. "And now look at him," she said with a thin smile, "cleaning up after successful people. How touching." A few cold laughs rippled through the hall. Blood rushed to Cole's face, but he did not tremble. He had survived far worse than this. "Come up here, Cole," Harper said. "Sing for us." Cole did not want to. Every instinct in him screamed, "Leave! Get out of here! Go back to Lily!" But if he turned away, Harper would win. She would keep lying, keep making money off children with heart disease. And one day, Lily would grow up, watch this video again, and think her father was a coward. Cole stepped onto the stage. Each step felt like it weighed a ton. He stood under the lights. Harper handed him the microphone. "Make yourself comfortable," she said. "Just do your best." Before the band could play a single note, Cole spoke. "Ms. Weston, I have a question." Harper raised an eyebrow. "Oh? Go ahead." Could you turn off the backing track? The air froze. Harper smiled, but her eyes did not. The track is part of the arrangement, Cole. But during rehearsal, you sang without it, Cole said. His voice was quiet, but the microphone picked it up clearly. You sang alone. The murmuring spread faster. Sound check is different from a performance, Harper replied, her voice tightening. Then could you sing first? Cole continued. Just you, no track, so I can learn how you do it. 3 seconds of absolute silence. Then Harper let out a sharp laugh. You want me to audition in front of you? No, Cole replied. I just want to know whether you can actually sing. The auditorium exploded. Gasps. Shocked laughter. Harper stared at Cole as if he had slapped her across the face. Of course I can sing, she said through clenched teeth. I've been doing it for 15 years. Then prove it. Harper spun toward the sound technician. Turn off the track, all of it. The technician hesitated. Do it! He pressed the button. The music immediately became sparse, bare, nowhere to hide. Harper Weston raised the microphone and began to sing. Harper's voice filled the entire auditorium. At first, it was powerful, confident. She moved through the opening lines with ease, years of training evident in every perfectly controlled breath. The audience gradually relaxed. Maybe the janitor had been mistaken? But then the song entered the bridge. The melody began to climb. E4, G4, B4. Harper's voice kept up, still steady, still controlled, still contained. But as the pitch continued to rise, something began to change. Her neck tightened, her shoulders lifted slightly. D5, E5, a 5. The sound was still there, but it was no longer light, no longer natural. Then Harper reached for the C6. Her voice broke. The sound shattered at a sharp 5, nearly a tone and a half below the target, splintering like glass hitting the floor. Harper stopped abruptly. She cleared her throat softly, quickly covering it with a strained smile. Sorry, my throat is a bit dry. She took a sip of water, then continued, her voice regaining a reassuring tone. That's why people use tracks, to protect the voice during long shows. But Cole had heard enough, and everyone in the auditorium had as well. You can't sing it, Cole said, very quietly. Harper spun around. Her smile was now nothing more than a thin, icy line. I said my voice is tired. But on your album, you sing that note 27 times, Cole cut in, his voice stronger. I counted. And in every live performance video online, you hit it perfectly. Every single time. The audience began to stir. Phones were raised. People looked at one another, whispering. What exactly are you implying? Harper's voice sharpened, like a blade. I have perfect pitch, Cole said. I can hear frequencies. The note on your album is 1046.5 Hz, C6. The note you just sang is 932 Hz, a sharp 5. A voice called out from the seats. Is he right? Harper's face flushed red. Listen. And the voice on the album, Cole continued, no longer holding back, doesn't sound like yours. It belongs to another woman. I checked the album credits. It clearly lists Autumn Haze, additional vocals. The theater erupted into whispers. Journalists typed furiously. Audience members shouted questions. The cameras abandoned their fixed angles, scrambling to capture every reaction. Harper strode toward Cole. The smile was gone. You need to shut up. Now. Why? Cole asked. And for the first time since stepping onto the stage, he felt something other than fear. Because I'm telling the truth? Because you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I heard during rehearsal, Cole said. He looked straight out at the auditorium, into the lens, at the 2 million people watching. And I know what I'm hearing right now. That high note isn't yours. You've been lip-syncing for 15 years. Harper's hand shot out, gripping Cole's arm. Not hard enough to cause pain, but enough to control him. "It's over," she said coldly. But before Harper could pull him off the stage, a voice rang out from the wings. "Actually, he's right." The entire auditorium snapped around. Daniel Park, Harper's sound engineer, stepped into the light. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady. "I've been Harper's sound engineer for the past 5 years," Daniel said. "At every performance, I played that backing track. She has never been able to sing that note live, not once." Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Harper stared at Daniel as if he had just plunged a knife into her back. "You're fired," she whispered. "I know," Daniel replied, "but he's a single father, raising a daughter with a heart condition on his own. And he's been braver than I have for the past 5 years." Absolute silence. 500 people in the auditorium held their breath. 2 million people watched online. Harper Weston stood frozen, as if she had been locked in place at center stage. Her own sound engineer had just destroyed everything in front of the entire world. "Ridiculous!" Harper snapped, her voice trembling. "You expect people to believe a janitor over me? I have 2 Grammy Awards. I've sold 4 million albums." "Then prove her wrong," someone shouted from the audience. "Sing the note." Harper's face drained from red to white. "I just sang it." "No," another voice replied. "You cracked. We heard it clearly." The crowd began to turn away. Harper looked at Cole, and inside her chest, something ugly began to twist. "Fine," Harper said coldly. "You think you're so smart? Then you sing. Right now. No preparation. No warm-up. No second chance." Cole's hands trembled. This was the moment where he would either prove who he truly was or become exactly what Harper Weston had always called him. From the guest seating, an old but steady voice rang out, "You've got this, Cole." Cole turned. Raymond Callahan, Ray, the 60-year-old janitor who had worked at the Ryman for 30 years, was standing up. He clapped slowly. "Sing the way you sing for Lily." Cole closed his eyes, took a deep breath, felt the air fill his lungs, his diaphragm open, every lesson, every memory, every pain, settling deep into his bones. He opened his eyes and nodded to the band. "Play Higher Ground." No track. The music began. For the second time that night, Higher Ground was sung, but everything was completely different. Cole began to sing. His voice was gentle, almost hesitant. The opening lines sat low, comfortably within range. He focused on the lyrics, on the story the song was telling. A few audience members exchanged glances. He sang well, solid, but nothing extraordinary yet. Then came the pre-chorus. Cole's voice opened up, power increasing without losing control. There was something raw, something honest, something Harper's polished performance had lacked. He wasn't performing. He was testifying. The melody continued to climb. D5, E5, F5. His voice followed effortlessly, light and clear, each note placed with precision. No sign of strain. Harper shifted slightly. Her jaw tightened. The bridge arrived, the place where Harper had failed. Cole did not hesitate. He transitioned registers smoothly, from chest voice to head voice, seamless as flowing water. G5, a 5, B5. The entire auditorium instinctively sat up straight. Then Cole reached for C6. The sound burst out crystal clear. No break, no strain, no tricks, just a pure whistle register note ringing like a crystal bell. He held it for 4 seconds. Perfect. Unbelievable. Someone in the front row gasped. But Cole wasn't done. He pushed higher. D6, E6, F6. A range that even Harper's backing track had never dared to touch. Cole's face was calm, almost serene, as if he were walking through a place he had lived in his entire life. Then he brought the voice back down. F6 to C6. C6 down to A5. a 5 to F5. Every transition seamless. Every note a small miracle. He completed the bridge and moved into the final chorus. His voice was now completely open. No hiding, no fear. When the final word faded into silence, no one moved. Then the theater exploded. 500 people leapt to their feet, shouting, applauding, faces streaked with tears. Ray jumped up and down, both arms raised. The entire band stood, clapping non-stop. The live stream went wild. Within 30 seconds, 50,000 shares. In less than a minute, the name Cole Brennan shot straight to the top of global trending lists. Cole stood under the lights, breathing hard, barely able to believe what had just happened. Harper Weston looked like she had been knocked flat. Her face was ashen. From the front row, a woman stood up. Yolanda Carter, an R&B legend, a special guest. She was crying. "That is the best thing I've ever heard from a janitor in my entire career," Yolanda said, her voice breaking. "Cole, you didn't just hit that note. You owned it." The applause grew even louder. Trevor Hudson, a producer who had worked with Alicia Keys and Kendrick Lamar, shook his head and stood up. "I need to say this," he said. "I've been in this industry for 30 years, and tonight we just witnessed a janitor sing a note that the woman who made it famous truly cannot." The auditorium fell dead silent. The weight of his words pressed down on everyone. Trevor turned to the audience. "The album recording? I was the mixer. I was there. Cole is right. That is not Harper's voice. It's Autumn Hayes, a studio singer from Austin. She was paid $2,000 and forced to sign an NDA. She was never properly credited." Harper opened her mouth, but no sound came out. "I stayed silent," Trevor continued, "because that's what people do in this industry. Protect the star, protect the money. But I'm done protecting lies, especially when a janitor has had more courage than I have for 3 decades. The theater erupted again. Journalists typed furiously. Cameras abandoned their fixed positions and rushed toward the stage. Harper finally found her voice. "This is insane," she screamed. "You're going to destroy my career over a backing track? Everyone uses tracks. Beyoncé uses tracks." "But they don't claim to be singing live," Yolanda shot back immediately. "They don't sell tickets for live performances and lip sync. That's fraud, Harper." I never," Harper stammered, looking around for support. But the band turned away. Her manager had a phone pressed to his ear, probably calling a lawyer. Harper turned to Cole. In that moment, he saw in her eyes not just anger, but fear. "You'll regret this," Harper whispered, just loud enough for the microphone to catch it. "You, your little family, and your sick daughter. I promise you'll never work in this industry again. Never." The threat hung in the air, recorded by every camera. But Cole was no longer afraid. For the first time in 5 years, he felt free. Cole spoke, his voice steady. "I don't work in this industry. I sing because I love it. And you can't take that from me." He paused for a beat, then added, slowly, clearly, "But maybe it's time someone took it from you." The theater fell completely silent. Then a single clap echoed, slow, deliberate. Then another, and within seconds, all 500 people rose to their feet, applauding, not for Harper Weston, but for a father who refused to lie. Harper looked around into the cameras at the wreckage of everything she had built. There was nothing left to say. She turned and walked off the stage. The moment Harper's foot crossed into the wings, the theater erupted again. People were glued to their phones. The live stream chat scrolled so fast it was unreadable. Someone shouted, "Check Twitter! She's trending!" Not Cole Brennan, but Harper Weston exposed. Harper Weston cheated. Harper Weston's career is over. Everything happened at a dizzying speed. Within 5 minutes, Harper's Wikipedia page was edited. 10 minutes later, major music blogs posted headlines, "Famous singer exposed by a janitor live on stage." 15 minutes later, 3 major sponsors released statements saying they were reconsidering their partnerships. Cole remained standing on the stage, surrounded by chaos he had caused, simply by telling the truth. He did not feel proud, nor victorious. Just a quiet certainty that he had done the right thing, even if he had no idea what would come next. The chaos lasted nearly 20 minutes before security cleared the auditorium. Cole sat backstage on a folding chair. Ray sat beside him. Around them, adults whispered urgently. Event organizers, Harper's management team, people in expensive suits speaking rapidly into phones. No one spoke to Cole. His phone vibrated. From the hospital. Lily had watched the live stream from her hospital bed. "Daddy, I saw it. You sang so beautifully." Cole's throat tightened. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" "I'm okay, Daddy. The nurses watched, too. They said you were amazing." That call had been an hour ago. Now it was nearly midnight. The children's choir had all gone home. The theater was nearly empty, with only crew members dismantling equipment. Cole was still sitting on that folding chair. Ray was still there, refusing to leave. Then Harper's lawyer appeared. Olivia Sterling, a white woman in her early 50s, entered backstage. Her suit likely cost more than 6 months of Cole's salary. Leather briefcase in hand, a polite smile. That never reached her eyes. "Mr. Brennan," she said, pulling up a chair across from him. "I'm Olivia Sterling. I represent Ms. Weston." Ray stood up immediately, positioning himself close, like a comrade. "He doesn't have a lawyer present," Ray said calmly but firmly. "If this is a legal discussion, I suggest representation." "Of course," Olivia replied. "I'm not here for formal negotiations, just to resolve an unfortunate misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding," Cole said. His voice was low and steady, the voice of a man who had endured enough loss. "Your client cannot sing the notes that made her famous. That is fraud." Olivia's smile did not waver. "The music industry is complex, Mr. Brennan. Artists use vocal support, backing tracks, studio techniques. That's standard practice. Tonight was merely a misunderstanding of professional context." "I understand that she lied," Cole replied quietly. Olivia turned toward him. "No, you misunderstand. And that misunderstanding is causing significant harm to Ms. Weston. Sponsors are threatening to withdraw. The tour is in jeopardy. Millions of dollars could be lost." The word harm hung in the air like a threat. Olivia opened her briefcase and placed a stack of documents on the table. "If you sign this," she said, "everything goes away." Cole picked it up. Read. His expression did not change. He was 32 years old and had read enough contracts to know when he was being led into a trap. "This document says I made false accusations, that I apologize, that I was seeking attention." "It's a mutual agreement," Olivia said. "In return, Ms. Weston will not pursue legal action, and as a gesture of goodwill, she will fund a $100,000 music scholarship for you. Full coverage, any program." Olivia paused. "We're also aware your daughter needs surgery. We will cover the full $85,000. Cole set the papers down, looked directly at Olivia. $185,000. Enough to save Lily. Enough to change his life. But Cole was 32 years old. He had watched his wife die. He had raised a heart-sick child alone for 5 years. And he knew, some things cannot be bought with money. "And if I don't sign?" Olivia's smile faded. "Ms. Weston will pursue defamation charges against you, against anyone who spreads your statements, and against the Ryman Auditorium for allowing a hostile environment." She paused. "Your daughter's school district has also been informed that a $500,000 donation to its music program is now at risk." Ray clenched his fists, but said nothing. This was Cole's decision. "So," Olivia concluded, "sign here, accept the scholarship, and everyone moves on. or refuse, and watch your family drown in legal fees you cannot afford. She looked Cole straight in the eye. The choice is yours. Cole stared at the papers, the lines of text that would label him a liar, the signature that would erase everything that had just happened. He thought of Lily lying in her hospital bed, of $85,000, of surgery in 2 weeks, or never. Then he thought of the truth. "No," Cole said. Olivia blinked. "Excuse me?" "I'm not signing," Cole replied. "I didn't lie. She did. And I won't say I lied just because she's rich and I'm not." "Mr. Brennan," Olivia said, her voice turning cold, "I don't think you fully understand the consequences." "I understand you're threatening me." Cole stood up. His hands still trembled, but his eyes no longer avoided hers. "Go ahead and sue me if you want. But I'm not signing that paper." Olivia's face hardened. "Then I'll see you in court." She gathered her briefcase. Before leaving, she turned back one last time. "By tomorrow morning, there will be stories about you, about your family, private things, painful things. And when it all gets worse, which it will, remember that you chose this." Then she left. Ray didn't hug Cole, didn't offer empty comfort. The two grown men simply stood side by side in silence. After a moment, Ray spoke softly. "You sure?" Cole nodded. "I'm sure. That scholarship, the surgery money—" "I won't teach my daughter that the truth can be bought with fear," Cole said. His voice did not shake. It was the voice of a father who had just made the hardest decision of his life. "I chose family over career 5 years ago. People said I was wrong. But Grace, even as she was dying, she said she was proud of me. For me, that's enough." Ray nodded. "Then, we fight. We fight." The two men walked out into the cold Nashville night, men who had chosen truth over money. The next morning, Cole woke to the sound of his phone buzzing like an angry hornet's nest. 6 a.m. He had slept only 3 hours. The screen was flooded with notifications, thousands of them. He opened Twitter. The first thing that hit him was a photo of their apartment in East Nashville, peeling paint, a broken security gate, overflowing trash bins. The caption read, "This is where Cole Brennan lives. While he accuses Harper Weston of cheating, it's clear he's just desperately trying to escape poverty." Cole's hands went numb. The next post showed a photo of a free lunch he had received 5 years earlier. Living off handouts his whole life. This was never about the truth. It was about money. The comments were brutally cold, ungrateful. He should be thanking Harper. This is what happens when you give people like this a chance. People like this. His phone kept vibrating, messages from unknown numbers, insults, threats. By noon, the smear campaign was in full force. News sites began publishing articles that were disturbingly similar. Sources close to the Brennan family claim Cole planned the entire incident as an extortion scheme. No evidence, no verification, yet all of it was published. By afternoon, Harper's legal team officially filed a $10 million defamation lawsuit, not only against Cole, but against Autumn Hayes, the studio singer, against Trevor Hudson, the producer who spoke up at the gala, against Daniel Park, the sound engineer, against anyone who dared to tell the truth. $10 million. Cole held the legal documents delivered to their apartment, his hands shaking so badly he could barely keep hold of them. This was a strategic lawsuit, not meant to win, but to terrorize. Harper's team knew that even if they lost, the legal costs alone would crush everyone involved. That was the weapon, and they were using it with cold precision. But they weren't finished. By 4 p.m., news outlets began running new stories, more tightly coordinated. Sources close to Harper claim Cole Brennan is a father with alcohol issues. His family has a history of violence. They are playing the victim to extract settlement money. None of it was true. By 5, another outlet claimed it had confirmed that Lily did not actually have a heart condition, that it was all staged. Cole sat on the old sofa in their apartment, his phone trembling in his hand, watching lies pile on top of each other like mud. He felt the walls closing in. Then, at 7:15 that evening, something changed. A woman named Autumn Hayes posted a video. She appeared to be in her late 30s, blonde, sitting in a professional recording studio. Gold records lined the wall behind her. "My name is Autumn Hayes," she spoke directly into the camera. "I am a studio singer, and I am the voice Harper Weston has been selling as her own for the past 15 years. Cole's heart pounded. "That man told the truth last night," Autumn continued. "I sang the whistle register note in Higher Ground and 6 other songs. I was paid $2,000 per song and forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement." She held up a stack of papers to the camera. "This is my contract. This is the proof." And I stayed silent, while a janitor was being crushed for daring to expose something I was too afraid to say. The video had been posted 8 minutes earlier. It already had 50,000 views. Within 1 hour, 2 million. Within 3 hours, 7 other studio singers came forward. Each had contracts, each had recordings, and each confirmed Cole Brennan was telling the truth. By noon the next day, public opinion had completely reversed. Harper Weston exposed shot to the top of trending, this time not on speculation, but on evidence. Cole sat on his worn old sofa, watching the internet tear apart the woman who had tried to destroy him. And for the first time since all of this began, he realized he was no longer alone. But Harper Weston did not disappear quietly. Even after 7 studio singers had come forward, even as undeniable evidence piled up beyond denial, Harper Weston still refused to back down. By that afternoon, Harper's legal team officially filed a $10 million lawsuit, not aimed only at Cole. They sued Autumn Hayes for violating her NDA, and they sued the Ryman Auditorium for creating a hostile environment. $10 million. The goal was not to win, but to frighten everyone into silence. Cole sat alone at the small kitchen table in their apartment, gripping the summons in his hands. He had endured enough loss to understand one thing. To survive, you had to fight with reason, not emotion. His phone vibrated. An unfamiliar number. This time Cole answered. "Mr. Brennan, my name is Melissa Morales. I'm an attorney. I'd like to represent you, pro bono." Cole straightened. "Why?" "Because what you did was right," Melissa replied. "And because my firm believes the legal system should not be used as a weapon for the wealthy to silence people who tell the truth." She paused. "But the decision is yours. You're a father. This is your life and your future. I can only offer professional advice." Cole looked down at the summons. "If I agree, can we win?" Melissa didn't dodge the question. "Honestly, legally, we have a very strong case. But Harper has money and time. She can drag this out, exhaust you financially and emotionally. This will not be an easy fight." Cole nodded. That was exactly what he needed. Not comfort, but truth. "All right," he said. "We do it." Within an hour, the kitchen table was covered with files. Melissa worked fast, efficiently. "Harper's lawsuit is garbage," she said bluntly. "Defamation requires false statements. Everything you said was true. She knows it. This is intimidation, not litigation." "So what do we do?" Cole asked. "We countersue," Melissa replied. "Fraud, false advertising, breach of contract with ticket buyers. We turn this into a class action, make it so expensive she can't continue." But the next morning, things became much worse. At 4 a.m., Lily woke in panic. She was struggling to breathe. Her lips turned bluish. Cole slammed the call button, his heart pounding like a war drum. Doctors rushed in. Oxygen, machines, terms Cole barely had time to process. Heart failure, acute risk, Emergency intervention. They stabilized Lily, but Dr. Walsh pulled Cole aside. We need to operate sooner, he said carefully. Lily's heart is weakening faster than expected. We may have only a week, maybe less. But insurance, we're working with them, the doctor replied. But you need to understand. Open heart surgery. 8 hours. High risk. Even if we close the hole, the risk of complications is still significant. 3 a.m. Cole sat alone in the hospital waiting room after Lily had fallen asleep again. There was nowhere else to go. He held his phone. Olivia Sterling's name was still in his call history. Just one call. Accept the deal. Sign the papers. Save his daughter. His finger hovered over the call button. The waiting room door opened softly. Lily stepped out, wearing her hospital gown, dragging her IV pole. "Daddy?" Her voice was weak but clear. "Are you okay?" Cole quickly wiped his tears. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Daddy's okay." Lily climbed onto the chair beside him and rested her head on his shoulder. "Daddy, why are people saying bad things about you?" Cole took a deep breath. "Because sometimes, when you tell the truth, there are people who don't want to hear it. But you always tell me lying is bad." "That's right." "Then why do grown-ups lie so much?" Cole was quiet for a moment. "Because sometimes lying feels easier than being brave enough to tell the truth." Lily looked up at him, eyes just like Grace's. "Daddy, are you scared?" "Very." "But you still do it?" "Yes." "Then that's brave," Lily said with certainty. "Mom told me. Being brave means you're scared, but you still do the right thing." Her voice was tiny but steady. And in that exact moment, Cole knew he could not call Olivia Sterling. He could not teach his daughter that the truth could be bought with fear. Because he was Lily's father. "Your mom was the bravest person I ever knew," Cole whispered. "And you're the second bravest." Lily shook her head. "No, I am." Cole held her gently. And in that moment, he realized he wasn't protecting his daughter. She, the 6-year-old child he wanted to shield, was giving him strength. That wasn't weakness. It was love. And that was why he could never sign that paper. The courtroom was smaller than Cole had imagined. Davidson County Supreme Court, Room 4B. Only about 30 people filled the benches, mostly reporters and supporters who had lined up since dawn. Harper Weston sat at the plaintiff's table with 5 attorneys in expensive suits. She wore a navy blue jacket, her face composed with an air of wounded calm, the familiar, dignity-affronted look of a celebrity. Cole sat at the defense table, between Melissa Morales and Ray. He wore the only white dress shirt he owned. This was not yet the formal trial. It was only a preliminary hearing on Harper's request, an injunction to bar Cole, Autumn Hayes, and Trevor Hudson from continuing to make what she called defamatory statements. Judge Patricia Donovan entered, a woman in her early 60s with more than 20 years on the bench. She glanced at Harper's legal team, then looked at Cole. Something flickered across her face, very quickly, but not by accident. "Miss Sterling," the judge said to Olivia Sterling, Harper's attorney, "you are seeking a gag order against a janitor." "Your Honor," Olivia replied, "the defendant's occupation does not diminish the harm caused by his false statements." "Are they false?" the judge cut in. "That is precisely the issue," Olivia said. "Those statements were made with malicious intent to destroy my client's reputation. Those statements were made after your client publicly humiliated him on stage." Melissa Morales stood. "If the court permits, I would like to present footage from the gala night, unedited." The entire courtroom watched the screen. They saw Harper drag Cole onto the stage. They clearly heard the whispered line, "Fail quietly," broadcast through an open microphone, and they watched Harper fail to hit the high note. When the video ended, the courtroom sank into silence. "Your Honor," Melissa continued, "the plaintiff did not summon this man because he lied." She summoned him because he told the truth, and that truth cost her money. That is not defamation. That is consequence. Judge Donovan turned to Olivia. Do you have any evidence that Mr. Brennan's statements are false? Your Honor, Olivia said, the music industry routinely uses vocal support and enhancement techniques. I didn't ask that, the judge interrupted. Yes or no? Olivia hesitated. We believe the context of my client's statements has been misunderstood. So that's a no. The judge made a note. Ms. Morales, do you have evidence supporting Mr. Brennan's statements? Yes, Your Honor. I call Autumn Hayes. Autumn stepped to the stand and was sworn in. Melissa guided the testimony, the contracts, the NDAs, the recordings proving Autumn's voice was used on Harper's albums, the emails clearly instructing that Autumn was never to be credited. Ms. Hayes, Melissa asked, when you heard Cole Brennan say that Harper Weston could not sing that note, what did you think? I thought, finally, Autumn answered. Finally, someone said it. And was he right? Yes, completely. Melissa sat down. Olivia stood to cross-examine, but Judge Donovan raised her hand. I've heard enough. Judge Donovan turned directly to Harper Weston. Ms. Weston, I will ask you one question. Although you are not on the stand, you are still under oath. Right now, in this courtroom, can you sing the note at issue? Harper's face went pale. Your Honor, I fail to see how this is relevant. Highly relevant, the judge replied. You are asking this court to silence people who say you cannot reach that note. Then prove them wrong. Sing it. The courtroom held its breath. Harper looked at her lawyers, looked at the judge, then looked at Cole. My voice hasn't been warmed up. You have performed on demand for 15 years, the judge said evenly. Surely you can demonstrate it once. Harper's mouth opened, then closed. Not a single sound. Just as I thought, Judge Donovan said, striking the gavel. The request for an injunction is denied. Furthermore, the court sanctions the plaintiff for filing a frivolous action intended to silence truthful speech. The gavel came down. The courtroom erupted. The judge looked at Cole. Mr. Brennan, you are free to continue telling your story. That is called the First Amendment. It protects the truth, even when the truth is inconvenient. Outside the courtroom, Rachel Bennett from 60 Minutes was waiting. Cole, how do you feel? I feel like I can finally breathe again. That evening, the 60 Minutes episode aired. 18 million people watched. During the closing credits, Harper's last remaining sponsors withdrew. Her record label terminated her contract. Her Las Vegas residency was canceled. The Grammy Committee announced it was reviewing her awards. A career built on stolen voices and protected lies officially collapsed, ended by a father who refused to stay silent. But Cole's greatest victory did not take place in the courtroom. It came 3 days later. 3 days after the court's ruling, Cole's phone rang at 6 in the morning. An unknown number. Mr. Brennan, this is the office of John Legend. Mr. Legend would like to cover the full medical costs for your daughter, all $85,000. Cole sat straight up in bed. He couldn't speak. Tears spilled out before he could even process what was happening. But that was only the beginning. Within the next 24 hours, Alicia Keys called, offering to cover all of Lily's post-surgery recovery expenses. Kelly Clarkson tweeted a call to action for a GoFundMe for the Brennan family. $250,000 was raised in just 6 hours. Lily's school held an emergency meeting and voted 8-0 to publicly support Cole. They rejected Harper's donation. But the most important moment came from something far quieter. Lily's surgery was scheduled for the following week. Dr. Walsh explained everything clearly, without evasion. Open-heart surgery. 8 hours. A 15% risk of complications. But without surgery, Lily would not live to see her 10th birthday. On the morning of the operation, Cole sat by Lily's bed as the nurses prepared to take her away. "Daddy?" Her voice was tiny. "I'm here, sweetheart." "I'm scared." Cole held her hand. "I'm scared too. But you still stood up for what was right, even when you were scared." Cole smiled, his eyes burning. "Because you taught me what bravery is, Lily. Every single day." Lily smiled, a smile just like Grace's. "Will you sing for me, Daddy?" Cole sang, "You Are My Sunshine," as they wheeled her toward the operating room. He sang until the doors closed behind her. Then he collapsed into a chair in the waiting room. The next 8 hours were the longest of Cole's life. By the 6th hour, he drifted into thought, thinking of Grace, of 5 years of silence, of every moment he had wanted to sing, but couldn't, because the pain crushed his chest. At the 8th hour, the operating room doors opened. Dr. Walsh stepped out, pulling down his mask. His face was exhausted, but smiling. "The surgery was successful," he said. "Your daughter's heart is healthy now." Cole broke down, sobbing. The months of fear and pain, all of it released in a single, redemptive moment. Lily lived. His daughter would be okay. 3 hours later, Lily woke up in the recovery room. Cole sat beside her, holding her hand, smiling through tears. "Daddy?" Lily whispered. "My love, you did it. Did you sing for me yet? Do you want to hear it? Your singing makes my heart feel better." So Cole sang, right there in the recovery room. The nurses stopped to listen. He sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, his voice still a little rusty after 5 years of silence, but beautiful. Not because of technique, not because of fame, but because it was real, and because it was alive. When the song ended, Lily smiled and drifted back to sleep. And for the first time in 5 years, Cole felt something shift inside his chest. His voice had come back, not for the stage, not for money, but for love. 18 months later, Cole Brennan stood backstage at the Ryman Auditorium once again. But this time, he was no longer the man who mopped the floors. He returned as a performing artist. Lily, now 8 years old, healthy and radiant, sat in the front row. Her heart had been repaired. The surgical scar on her chest had faded into a thin silver line, like the mark of a battle already won. The road that brought Cole back here was anything but straight. After Lily's surgery, 5 major record labels made offers at the same time. Cole turned them all down. "I won't leave Lily," he said. "Not now, and not ever." Instead, he signed with an independent, artist-owned label, Heart Song Records, run by people who were parents themselves, who understood that family always comes before career. Cole's contract looked nothing like anything else in the industry. A flexible schedule. Lily could travel with him everywhere. Cole retained full ownership of his compositions, and 15% of all revenue went directly into a fund he established himself. That fund was called Unbreakable Voices, a scholarship program for young singers from working-class backgrounds. No NDAs, no exploitative contracts, only training, legal education, and real support. In the first year, 50 scholarships. By the third year, 200. Cole recorded his debut album, Silent No More. He co-wrote it with Autumn Hayes, a collection of songs about reclaiming courage, speaking the truth, and daring to say no when the world expects you to stay silent. The album went gold in just 6 weeks. The music videos were filmed in the places where Cole's voice had truly been born. The East Nashville Community Church, where he once sang with Grace. The Ryman Auditorium, where he once cleaned floors. And the hospital room, where he sang to Lily. In the final chorus, Lily appeared. Her voice was clear, precise, unafraid. Text appeared on the screen. Your voice matters. Change in the industry came fast, and it was irreversible. California passed Assembly Bill 2847, also known as the Brennan Act, requiring full transparency for any live performance that uses pre-recorded vocals. Tickets must clearly disclose it. Violations are treated as consumer fraud. Within 18 months, 12 states passed similar laws. The Recording Academy overhauled its crediting rules. Every song submitted for awards must fully disclose all contributing vocalists. The vague concept of additional vocals was officially eliminated. Spotify and Apple Music added a credits tab to every song. Studio singers, who had been invisible for decades, finally had names. A studio singers union was formed, 2,000 members in its first year. Autumn Hayes' career exploded. After 15 years in the shadows, she appeared on magazine covers. Her debut solo album, finally, won a Grammy. In her acceptance speech, she said, "I was afraid for 15 years. A 32-year-old man showed me what courage really looks like. And Harper Weston? She never recovered." 3 months after the court ruling, Harper filed for bankruptcy. The class action lawsuit ended with $23 million in ticket refunds for 15,000 audience members. Both of her Grammy Awards were officially revoked. Harper attempted a comeback 6 months later with a tour titled Unplugged and Unfiltered. Ticket sales reached 11%. After the third show, the tour was canceled. The last the public heard of her, Harper was teaching music business courses for an online college. But this story is not about Harper's fall. It is about what was lifted up. The concert night. Ryman Auditorium. Cole stood backstage at the Ryman, his heart pounding. This was his first concert. Before stepping onto the stage, he stopped by the custodial room. The familiar smell of cleaning solution and floor wax filled the air. Ray was there, holding a mop. "You did it, kid," Ray said, placing a hand on Cole's shoulder, not like a father to a son, but like two grown men who respected each other. "No," Cole smiled. "We did. Everyone who was ever told their voice didn't matter." Cole walked onto the stage. Lily sat in the front row, wearing a T-shirt that read, "My dad's voice saved me." The auditorium was packed, not with 500 wealthy patrons holding $500 tickets, but with 2,000 working people who had lined up early. Janitors, nurses, teachers, single parents, people who had been told their voices were insignificant. Cole opened with "Silent No More." His voice wasn't perfect. There were still traces of 5 years of silence, but it was real. For the second song, he invited Autumn Hayes onto the stage. Together, they sang Higher Ground. When both of them reached the final C6, clear, accurate, and truly their own, the auditorium erupted. For the final song, Cole called Lily onto the stage. "This is my daughter," he said. "2 years ago, I almost lost her. In that fear, I found my voice again, not for fame, not for money, but for love." They sang "You Are My Sunshine" together. As the melody faded, the cameras caught the Ryman's custodial staff, the people who once worked alongside Cole. They stood, applauding, many of them in tears. A sign was raised, "We always knew you could sing." Cole looked out at the audience, people who had once been invisible, now seen, and spoke his final words. "To everyone who was ever told to stay silent, you are not invisible anymore." The curtain fell to thunderous applause. If you stayed until this very moment, thank you, truly. Cole's story is not just about music. It is about truth, about courage, and about how one ordinary person can change an entire system, simply by refusing to stay silent. Before you go, tell me, where are you watching this story from? A big city, a small town, or a quiet corner somewhere in the world? Leave a comment below. Because here, every voice matters. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told more often, stories about ordinary people, about truth, and about difficult but right choices, hit subscribe right now. Because in the next video, it might be your story that gets heard. See you next time.